we are, guys. This is the new drift truck project. This is a 1991 Mazda B2000 mini truck. It's a truck, it's a Mazda. We have a 2.2 liter inline four that makes 85 horsepower and 110 foot-pounds of torque at who knows RPMs because it doesn't have a tachometer. It's an ugly little thing. It's a tiny little thing. Probably the skinniest four-cylinder I've ever seen, even though it's a 2.2 liter. As you guys can hopefully tell, this truck is incredibly clean. It spent most of its 27-year lifespan in California, where it doesn't rain and it doesn't snow. So, you know what that means? It means no rust, which is rare here in the Midwest, and it's very important. There's no rust. The paint is in pretty good condition, a couple dents, scratches here and there, but it's nice and glossy after I spent an entire day buffing it. The truck has 140,000 miles. The interior is clean. The last owner did smoke, so it kind of smells like smoke in there. We tried our best to get rid of that smell. Kind of failed. I've been daily driving this thing for the past week because it gets awesome miles per gallon, and just because it's something new, it's easy to drive. It doesn't have a stage 10 billion clutch. In the week of driving, I've come to realize that it is an awesome little mini truck, and I'm so excited to get started. As I said, this is going to be a drift project. You might be thinking to yourself, why the heck are you drifting a truck? Literally, that's about the worst start-off vehicle I could have chosen. There are a lot of issues with this truck. Number one, it's got a four-cylinder that makes 80 horsepower. Number two, solid rear axle, not the best for drifting. Number three, front suspension is a porcelain bar suspension, which is also kind of trash. Number four, it has a steering box instead of a steering rack, which means the steering is super unprecise and it's super hard, and it'd be terrible for drifting. Number five, it's got drum brakes in the rear. How the heck are you supposed to use a hydro, a dual caliper setup, if you don't have a caliper? Here's the thing, we are going to be fixing every single one of those issues. Before I talk about that, however, let's go ahead and take her for a spin, see how she feels, show you all 85 glorious horsepower, and talk about why it's so awesome driving a JDM mini truck. A couple quick interesting facts I want to share before we start driving this thing. Not only can you start this with any old Mazda key, this is the Rally Miata's key, and it goes right in and starts right up. You can also drive it without a key in it at all. It's running with no key in it. Yeah, so I'm gonna put the key back in just because it makes me feel better, but so there's really no point. Let's drive this thing. 85 horsepower mini truck. As you might have been able to tell, it is a manual. This is a 5-speed manual. The shifter is actually really awesome. For a truck, it's super notchy, just as notchy as any Miata shifter that I've used. In fact, there's a good chance that it is a Miata transmission, because they like to share parts. Besides the absolute lack of power that this thing has, 40 miles per hour. Woo! It's actually really, really awesome to drive. Even though the engine doesn't have a lot of power, it's super responsive, super peppy, and it actually has a decent amount of torque, so it gets you places. One of my favorite things about driving this thing is that you look around and it just screams classic Mazda sports car. The gauges are exactly like the FC and FB RX-7 gauges. These knobs are from an FB RX-7. Feels like I'm driving an old classic Mazda, because I am. Now, this truck does have a few issues. Number one, a check engine light does come on every once in a while. However, I found out that if you floor it, the check engine light goes away. Is that not the greatest check engine light ever? The car starts to shake at around the truck starts to shake at around 55 miles per hour. I have no idea why, but it's very sketchy. And when you push the brakes, the car kind of vibrates like it's trying to dance. The clutch is actually really awesome. Grabs super low, and it's pretty grabby. I'm very impressed about that. No cup holders, of course, because I guess Mazda had something against cup holders in the 90s and 80s. It has a nice little bench seat, which has 3 seatbelts in it. I drove around with 3 people in it, 3 dudes in it once. Kind of awkward, because the dude in the middle, can you kind of see where things line up here? Yeah. It handles like a complete boat. Here I am turning in. Oh God. Taking corners quickly is terrifying. It's got so much body roll, and these seats, it's a bench obviously, so there's no bolstering whatsoever. I'm pretty sure it has 4 different tires on it. On each corner there's a different tire. That's kind of sketchy. Steering is just so unprecise, and unlike a steering rack, the steering box, it doesn't get easier to turn when you're moving. Like my steering rack, my manual steering rack, and the blue Miata, as long as I'm moving, it feels like power steering, but when I'm in a parking lot, it sucks. The steering box, it sucks all the time. Like every single time you go to turn, it's just super resistive and hard, which is why it would be terrible for drifting, which is why we're gonna switch it. But despite all those issues, driving it is awesome, because I feel like I'm in like a little mini JDM truck. That's essentially what it is. It's a little JDM mini truck. Now, Ford did have a big share in Mazda at the time that this truck was produced. So you might say that this is a Ford Ranger. It's not. It's a Mazda B2200. Please don't call it a Ranger. I can guarantee you a Ranger does not feel like this on the interior. It might drive the same, but it doesn't feel JDM. It doesn't have that heritage. It doesn't have that heritage. It's super easy to flow gears in this truck, so I can shift it without using the clutch really easily. So that was 3rd gear, going into 4th gear, just pops right in. My foot obviously is up here, I'm not using the clutch. I can even downshift, just rev matched without using a clutch. Should we go into 2nd? Yeah, let's do that. Alright, failed, let me try it again. There we go. Doesn't shift as fast without a clutch, but it's really easy to float gears in this thing. 3rd gear, boom. 2nd gear, oh, that was, I'm gonna die! Oh my gosh, see, that's so sketchy. One of the best things about this truck is it can speed honk really well. So how are we going to make this low-powered, terrible suspension mini truck drift? Firstly, we're going to pull out this very underpowered 2.2 liter inline 4 and replace it with a 1UZ, which, as some of you guys know, is Lexus's, Toyota's V8 from the 90s, early 2000s. It's an all aluminum 4-liter V8 that makes 300 horsepower and 310 foot-pounds of torque. Much better than 85 horsepower. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be light still, since it's all aluminum. It's gonna be our first 8-cylinder, which is so awesome. I'm very excited for. The 1UZ is also a very, very strong engine, so it's gonna be great for drifting. It's gonna be super reliable, and eventually we're gonna turbocharge it, or maybe twin turbocharge it. Either way, this is going to be our most powerful, fastest build yet. When everything is said and done, I'm shooting for like 500 wheel horsepower. And in this thing, it's gonna be awesome. In order to fix the suspension, what we're gonna do is try to just swap over an entire Miata suspension setup. I'm gonna cut off all the stock suspension and pretty much just build mounts for a front and rear subframe out of a Miata. That will give us the option of running a RX-7 rear diff, Miata suspension, Miata brakes, Miata angle kit, Miata dual caliber setup. Everything will be off the shelf instead of having to build a custom thing for every single thing. It's gonna be so much easier, so much cheaper in the long run, and Miata suspension is amazing. Plus, it'll change the 6-lug hubs to a 4-lug hub, which obviously has a ton more wheel options. It's not quite as strong with 4 lugs, but that's not an issue because this truck weighs nothing, pretty much. Believe it or not, this truck actually weighs less than the RX-7. Remember my RX-7 that we used to have, the FC RX-7? Yeah, this truck weighs less than it. A truck. Curb weight is 2,700 pounds. That's so ridiculous, and that's why it's an awesome candidate, besides all the other issues, for a drift truck, because it weighs not a lot. That will fix all the issues. The other issue that we'll have to fix is weight balance. That's one issue with trying to drift a truck. The weight balance is off. The rear is really light, the front is really heavy. So when you go to transition, you don't have enough rear traction, and you spin out. So we're gonna do the best that we can to put more weight in the back. We're gonna relocate the battery to the back. We are going to do a custom bed setup, which will add weight back there. Maybe do a rear radiator, probably not, maybe sandbags, who knows, I don't know. But that's the plan. Miata suspension, 1UZ, and awesomeness. When the thing is finished, I want it to be the ultimate JDM mini truck, street car, drift car. I want it to be good at drifting, but I want it to be awesome to drive on the street. I want it to look super classy, super JDM. I want to paint it a really old, classic Mazda OEM color, probably Harbor Blue, which is from an FC. We're also going to redo the entire interior, racing seats, all that good stuff, roll cage. And yeah, it's going to be so awesome, guys. This build is going to be incredibly unique, but incredibly awesome. It's going to push myself as a car mechanic and a videographer. It's gonna have so many new things. First V8, first truck, first drift specific vehicle. I think that pretty much covers it. I do want to get started pretty much right away. We're gonna pull out this engine after we have some fun with it, maybe blow it up. We are hopefully gonna get started on working on swapping the Miata suspension into it. I can't wait. This thing already is like kind of peppy and like fun to drive with this 85 horsepower 4-cylinder. Imagine with more than 3 times the power. It's gonna be insane. And I'm so excited to have a naturally aspirated 8-cylinder. I'm so used to turbocharged 4-cylinders, which are laggy, not very torquey, and well, they're fun. But an 8-cylinder, a 1UZ, hopefully it fits. I've heard 1UZs are quite the big V8. I heard they're like 30% bigger than a small block Chevy. Nobody's ever done this before, so it's kind of uncharted territory. But that's what we're all about, doing stuff that's not been done before, even if it doesn't work. We'll make it work. We'll make it work. It's gonna work no matter what, but we might have to mess up a couple times, cry, I don't know. I'll also say in the past week of driving this thing, I've used this bed so much. It is so convenient having a truck that you can get the bed dirty and like haul around stuff. Even though it's a mini truck of 85 horsepower, it's super useful. Not only will it be an awesome drift project, an awesome drift car, and awesome street truck that is fast and stuff, it's gonna be an awesome daily driver slash hauler that I can use to haul around tires, wood for all my bus projects, and anything else. The other awesome thing is that when we go take this thing drifting, we don't have to stuff all the tires inside the bus because it's got a bed. I can fit like at least 8 wheels and tires back here. So 8 drift spares, that's plenty. I really hope you guys are excited. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm really excited to get started on this truck. Let me know what you guys think. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you think this is a terrible idea? Do you think it's an awesome idea? It is an awesome idea. If you guys are new to the channel or not new to the channel and are excited for this build, please make sure to subscribe. Stay tuned. It's gonna be awesome. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you didn't enjoy this video, give it a dislike. Tell me why. Hopefully you guys aren't too sad that I got another Mazda. I chose this over other mini trucks, JDM mini trucks, just because I like it the most. And it's really sentimental to me because it's a Mazda, and I am addicted to Mazdas for some reason. The suspension on it right now is really freaking stiff. Like, this thing handles like it's on rails. It's like a little trampoline, actually. Drift truck! Yeah, drift truck! Woo!